This is More Than Money with Mapalo Maku, brought to you by Sasfin Wealth.
Welcome to More Than Money. I'm Mapalo Maku, a personal finance columnist, and I love having money conversations that change people's perspective about finances. Why am I doing this podcast, you might ask? To talk about money. Not the paper stuff. I mean the baggage, the feeling, the emotional, heart-wrenching stuff. We find this conversation so uncomfortable to have, which is why on this podcast, I have decided to have this very difficult conversations. We are going to have some difficult discussions because better money conversations lead to better money confidence, and healthy money dialogue leads to healthy money decisions. Today, I'm joined by Dudu Busani-Dube, an incredible author, but by profession, you are a journalist. And in one of your interviews, you mentioned that you always knew that you were going to write a book one day. Where did that come from?
I studied journalism because it was the closest thing to writing. At that time, I didn't have all the information about what do you study if you want to be a writer. I mean, I didn't know there was an actual creative writing course. So I did journalism. I got a job, luckily, immediately after graduation. I worked as a journalist for 14 years. And I started writing my first book in 2014. Yeah, I actually wrote my first book when I was 33. And I'm glad I waited.
Why do you say you're glad you waited? Do you feel like your experiences as someone who's gone through their 20s and early 30s, they contributed to how you wrote the stories?
I think yes. And also I was wiser, and I was smarter. And I had started to have the time to do things because, your 20s are wild. I did not skip any stage in life. I did the things that people are supposed to do at a particular age. So I was more relaxed. I was also very comfortable in my career. I was in a senior position now. I was smarter business-wise. And I think if I had not waited, if I had done it earlier, I would never have been able to succeed as a self-published writer. And I think everything has its time. So maturity is very important in everything that you do.
Let's take a step back and talk about your upbringing. I mean, you mentioned that one of your teachers realized the gift that you have for writing and language. Give us a bit of a picture of what was happening when you were growing up.
I was born in Nanda, lived in the rural areas a little bit, then lived with my parents, Kwamashu, in a township here in Durban. I think because of that, I was a very independent child because I had been in these very different places, and I do come from a very large family. So with me, I think whether I get the support or not, I'm really just going to do what I need to do. Also, I'm in my 40s, so at that time, we did not have, I think, the luxuries that this younger generation has, where parents are very, very much present because, our parents had to work. They had to feed us. They had to, they had nothing. So it wasn't something that was really, really, really normal for your parents to just be, aware of who you are as a person, for them to realize that, I have a creative child, so I must nurture that. So, I started high school in 1994, and also I went to boarding school. Growing up in boarding school, you are basically being raised by other teenage girls. You grow up to be very, very, very independent. You see your family 4 times a year, and I think school holidays a year are only 2 months or something. So that's when you see your families, like in the 2 months or when they come to visit. We're having this conversation with other girls about how, when somebody asks, when did you move out of home? And as boarding school kids actually moved out when we were 12.
How much of your stories have an impact because of how you grew up around boarding school and around other young women?
I do narrate the stories from a woman's voice. I think I understand girls a lot because in my years of transitioning into a woman, I was always surrounded by girls. You know, I know the attitudes, the thinking, how we speak, how we behave, the feminine part of women. It's something that I love. I love femininity. And it's obviously because I was surrounded by it in my teens. And also the fact that I was a journalist is something that helped me a lot in my writing.
Did your parents ever talk about money when you were growing up?
So my dad was a school principal, he's retired now. My mom didn't work for some time and then he started working as a counselor. And you know, with families, even if your parents are sort of doing okay, they can afford the kids that they have, but that's not how Black families work or how they worked in our generation. So if there's somebody that is kind of doing okay, they almost responsible for the whole extended family and all of that. So we were fine, but no, we did not talk about money. It was not something that was there to be spoken about.
How has that sort of impacted you as an adult when it comes to managing your money?
I started working very early. I think I was fully employed at around 22 and I was earning a salary. I had my own medical aid. I had all that stuff. I think by 25 I was in credit bureau. If you are young and you start working and you earn 6,000 Rand in like 2004 and you get the calls for the credit cards, you're paying for things yourself, you go out on lunches and dinners and we are groover. You want to look nice, when you dress nice and all of that. It's such a fun age to be at, and it's even more fun if you can afford it yourself. So yes, and the credit cards came and the overdrafts were offered. It's things that are offered. As I grew older, I started realizing that no, actually, they do target young professionals who have just started working and just to offer them all these things, and then you end up being in debt. And so by the time I was 25, I was still working very well, but I was now on credit bureau for, a credit card, I don't even remember, or a cell phone that I lost and did not continue to pay for. Yeah, that is what happened. Mostly because I didn't know, I didn't have financial education at all. And also I'm a creative. I'm not gonna be paying attention to any administrative things that are there. I think it's something that happens to a lot of people at that age. And then that's when you have to start, because then you get to where you want to buy a car and you can't because of that. So that's when maybe you start changing your ways and trying to take the money, spending seriously.
What was the trigger to realize that, you know what, I'm not very good with my money currently and I've gotten myself into debt? Then secondly, how did you come up with a strategy to pay it off?
When I wanted to buy a car, I got declined and I was like, but I can afford a car. Why am I being declined? And so there were these little things, these little debts that like when you take a contract phone and you don't cancel the contracts after 2 years. You keep the phone, but you don't continue to pay. Apparently, you have to renew or something like that. Yeah, when I wanted to buy a car and I realized that I had just been reckless in what I was doing, because I never thought I could be declined by a bank for something. So that was it for me. But also, I wasn't in debt that I could not pay. It was that I was not a good payer. So it wasn't a lot of money that left me kind of bankrupt. It was just a record that was bad, horrible. And so I started fixing that.
Was that a lesson learned and it taught you something?
It was a lesson learned. I'm still very much not a good money manager. I think it's something that has to do with maybe me and my personality and the things that I like. I have an accountant who handles all of those things. It was something that I was not going to try and do myself.
You are listening to More Than Money, a podcast collaboration brought to you by Sasfin Wealth. At Sasfin Wealth, we empower our clients to reach their global investment goals, to retire with dignity, and to leave a lasting legacy. If you would like to have real money conversations, visit sasfin.com/wealth and talk to us. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
I was going to ask about, one of your books, it got turned into a series on Showmax. Has that changed how you manage your money, or you really rely on the experts in your life to help you and assist you with that?
I rely on the people. So when I was doing those negotiations to sell my intellectual property, so I relied very, very much on my lawyer to even negotiate how much my IP was worth. I do rely on people that are experts that I've been working with for the longest time. Make sure that my things are in order. But also, I think because I'm not a fleshy person, I'm not very much into the material. Like, I'm very much into wholesomeness, like self-care, and I'm into experiences and good food and all of that.
Did you ever want to be published, or you always knew that you wanted to self-publish, and what were the reasons behind that?
When I started writing my book, it's not that I had said to myself, now I'm going to start writing the book. It's something that just happened. I started with the first sentence and it just went on and on and on. And then it was done. I did not have a plan for it. So it sat for about 3 months and I wasn't doing anything about it. It was just there. And being a journalist, again, helped me in that situation because I knew what was being published. I mean, it comes with you having to read a lot. So I knew what was there, I knew what was being published, and I knew that what I had written, how I had written it, who I was writing it for, about, and all of that was not something that was going to sort of make it to mainstream publishing. I think if I had, I never contacted a publisher. I never sent my manuscript to everyone, but I keep saying that I know that if I had, it was going to be rejected. Things have changed a lot in the past 10 years. So what I did was I put the first 3 chapters on WordPress and just asked people to go and check it out. And it was just also some type of marketing. I wanted to see how people were going to receive it. And it just blew up. And when I started self-publishing, I had no idea what I was doing. I was learning along the way. I just knew that I had this book and people wanted it, and they were willing to pay for it. I kept learning along the way, did make a lot of mistakes along the way, did learn from them. Had to come up with very creative ways of marketing. My timing was right, and I think that because I wrote what I wanted to write, the way I wanted to write it, and it was authentic, and people loved that.
So from that time, right, when you put it out on WordPress and to actually having it as a tangible book, how long did that take?
I put it on WordPress in 2014, December. It was done and finished. I put it on WordPress, it got crazy, so I had to keep putting in more and more chapters. And when I was left with, I think, around 10 chapters, I was like, no, man, I'm giving people my book for free, all of it. Because they were saying, like, give us the whole book, stop with this posting chapter thing, we'll pay, let us pay. So I was able to find a online type of store where they could pay 90 rands and be able to download the book from that site. So with that money, I was able to then start printing the book. Yeah, by almost mid-year, I think around April, May. And I had also started writing my second book.
What was different about the second time versus the first time?
I did make some mistakes, but also I don't even regret them because I think I had to learn. For instance, putting the book in that online store where the book is downloadable, it means that if one person bought it, they could email it to 100 people. And when I look at it now, I think if maybe I had not made that mistake, it would not have reached as many people as it did, who are now into buying books and into reading books that are not even the books that are not mine. And just the culture of reading has grown a lot.
The popularity of your books, that's what got you on the radar to turn The Wife into a series. What was that process like?
We actually started talking with a producer in 2016, actually, not even 2 years into it. We met up with lawyers, we came to some agreement, and then it was up to them to go and pitch it to the different channels. End of 2020, and we finalized everything.
What was that moment like? Because it had taken you guys in negotiation 4 years, right? Was there a point when you thought, man, this is not going to happen?
So it was a thing that was happening on the side. It was not something that really bothered me or something that I was focused on, because at that time I was writing, I was releasing books, my books were doing well, I was doing tours, I was, so that's where my focus was, until I think like the very late stages of it, like when it was really, really coming together. That's when I started being very serious about it, very interested in it.
How did you determine what this story was worth in this new medium?
Well, I had a lawyer. As soon as my book started being very successful, I had to trademark certain things, like I trademarked Hlomu. So I had been with her from the beginning, before even the TV thing came in. So she specializes in intellectual property. She understands how it works. She understands how much money gets made from this and this and that, which I always advise every creative, intellectual property lawyers are very expensive, but they are worth it. And we've seen a lot of creative people who have created a lot of things, just signing bad contracts and walking away with nothing.
So, now you are on season 3 of The Wife, one of the best rating shows in South Africa. How does that make you feel?
I'm proud of them. I was not involved in just the making of the show itself. So what I did was that I have 6 books in the Hlomu series books. They bought production rights for the first 3. So for me, just besides the success of the show, I think the thing that I'm most happy about is this just new culture of book adaptations into TV, that working relationship, the two mediums just working together.
Yes. So basically, you have paved the way for other writers to see their work more than beyond just the writing process, that, it can be intellectual property that they can sell. What is the one thing that you've actually splurged on and you do not regret?
I like nice cars. Sometimes I do spend time on the road. I want to be comfortable in a car. So I bought myself a Range Rover. So that was nice because it was a car that I liked. It was not even about, the status of it. I just loved it. I was in it once and I was like, I would love to drive this car, because I was kind of rewarding myself. I was like, let me just do something. Let me just buy something.
As the last thing, Dudu, what is next for you?
So I moved to this side because I wanted to rest. I wanted to relax. I said I was giving myself 2 years to rest and just relax and be by the beach and just hang out with my dog and be that woman who wakes up to walk her dog to the beach, because my mind needed that. So the 2 years is over. Yeah, so now I need to decide. I'm even thinking of going back to Joburg. I'm still writing. I'm always going to write. I do have other jobs that I do. But I need a new challenge. I need to decide what it is going to be. I need to do something new besides the writing. So at this point, I'm trying to figure that out.
Dudu, thank you so much. We absolutely love your story. And for me, you've just paved the way for young Black people to keep on writing, and that their writing can be so important, it can be turned into other mediums. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
This was a Sasfin Wealth podcast. Visit sasfin.com/wealth for more information.